executive interview series. I'm Kimberly Underwood, Director of Digital News Media at AFCEA International Signal Magazine. Welcome to our episode today, which is sponsored by Cloudera, entitled Building the Data Foundation for AI. I'm speaking with Carolyn Dubey, the Field Chief Technology Officer at Cloudera. Hello, Carolyn. So glad to speak with you.
Hey, Kimberly, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here talking with you about one of my favorite topics, which is, of course, data.
Great, and I'm thrilled to meet you. And I know you're a computer scientist by trade, but can you tell us a little bit about your role and what is a field CTO?
Yeah, that's a great question. A field CTO is working throughout with our customers. Really, it's a customer-facing role. And to sum it up in the most basic terms, we're helping customers to be successful with all of the things that they want to do with data. So, for example, protecting their enterprise or their agency, working towards optimizing, and then also securing and governing their agency. So we're really, data is the foundation of everything. So it's a really exciting place to be right here today. I have, prior to joining Cloudera, I've been with the company for about 8 years. I was at SecureWorks, which was also in the cybersecurity industry. And prior to that, I was a consultant across the real-time and embedded space. So I've really done a lot of different things. And all of those things have prepared me to be where I am today. And I think that we're launching off into a really exciting, kind of epic, really. We've got data, we've got AI, and we're having a lot of interesting things happening in the industry. So it's a great place to be today.
Great. Yeah, it seems like such a complex world that's kind of exploding. And I love that you understand, kind of the importance of and the kind of data foundations needed. Um, and, especially for the intelligence community and DoD, that where people and leaders have to make informed decisions, maybe even very quickly, that are really a matter of national security and where saving lives and mitigating threats is at stake. I'd love to hear more about the AI piece, kind of, because I know with artificial intelligence, AI is only as good as the data that feeds it. And, I understand that organizations need to be able to build this kind of reliable data foundation. And I love that you're going to kind of break that up for us, like what exactly is a reliable data foundation, how that, the best kind of data governance that is needed, the interoperability, the necessary protocols for effective AI. Can you walk us through all that? How can government agencies in the IC and DoD get their data in motion and what that means? And then, also keeping in mind the security readiness and cyber resiliency parts of it. Can you talk about that? Thanks.
Sure. So in order to do artificial intelligence or machine learning, you have to have two kinds of data. You have to have historical data, which is used to train the algorithm. And then you also have to have the current data so that you can make predictions once you've built the algorithm. So really, there are two different issues. One is getting the data that you need and then preparing it for use, right? For analytics and for training, and then also having the data ready so that when you want to make a prediction or decision, you can make it with the current data, right? So there's a bunch of different issues within this whole space of artificial intelligence and machine learning. The first thing is, can you get the data? Is it ready for analytics? And is it trustworthy, right? And if you're going to make a decision based on the data, that data has to be the most current, right? It has to be the most trusted data. It can't be something that's been injected or poisoned, right? And it has to be the most complete. If you're making a decision based on data that's not complete, then you are not going to be able to make the best decision. So really, there's a lot that goes into making decisions based on the data, having the most current data, having trusted data, having data that's prepared for decision making, and then also the scalability. So being able to take all of those data sources and put them together, because a lot of times we've seen, time and again, how you have all of the data is out there, but we don't always have all of the ways to put it together and to make that decision based on all of the things that we know, and being able to do that quickly. It's super important as when you're in the intelligence community or cyber community, to be able to make that kind of accurate decision and to be able to make it quickly. So in order to do that, you have to have the most recent data. If you're making a decision based on where your adversary was yesterday, then you're not going to be able to make that best decision. So the data has to be fresh as well. And so that offers us an interesting array of problems to solve, right? Things that we have to be able to get the data, we have to be able to move it, we have to prepare it for analytics, and we have to be able to then use it in order to make a decision.
Right, sure. And can you talk about what a kind of a true hybrid model is and why it's ideal for today and for the government?
So hybrid is a very important capability, especially within the government, within our defenses, because not everybody, we have some very unique challenges, right? Within the intelligence and the defense community, we're not always in a nice environment where we have all of our cloud resources kind of lined up, right? There's people in the field, there's command centers that are, in one area, and people that are in field that are in the other area. There's data that needs to be moved, collected, networks that aren't always working, right? There's a lot of challenges in that whole environment, and meeting those challenges, getting the data, moving it, being able to share it and have it interoperable with other, with other commands and with other branches. That's a whole area where it's really challenging, right? Being able to do that securely, knowing that we're getting all of the data, knowing how it got there and what happened to it on the way in, and then being able to share it securely throughout the enterprise. So this is a really interesting and robust hybrid model that you need in order to make all of this work together. So it's really important to be able to, first of all, get the data securely in a hybrid environment, to be able to do the analytics we need in the locations that we need, right? So we can't just build an analytic that's going to run in one place, because that's not going to work, right? We have to be able to do those analytics on premise or in the cloud, or maybe potentially in multiple clouds. So, we have to be able to meet the agency where it is today, be able to collect the data that we need to be able to analyze the data in the place where they're at now. But we also need to make that agency future-proof. Can't just build something that's only going to work in one place, because that's not going to support us going on in the future. That's just going to make a lot of legacy code. So, there's the unique challenges, the unique environment of the agencies really requires this robust hybrid model that's write once, run anywhere, secure, and governance across the hybrid model. Wherever the data is, there's a consistent security and governance model, and that's really, really important.
Right, sure. And I know both the DoD and the IC's data strategies are focusing heavily on interoperability and data sharing within and between agencies. Can you kind of walk us through the importance of that, and what are the benefits of interoperability?
So interoperability is extremely important. Like I said, if you have a decision and one person has the data here and another person has the data there, but they're not able to share it, and you're not able to link that up and, kind of connect the dots, then you're not really going to be able to have the fullest defense of the country, right? This is of critical importance. But we also need to make sure that we're not oversharing, right? We're sharing just enough. We're sharing it securely so that it's not leaked from place to place. And then it's also going to be the right data, right? So sharing just enough, sharing it securely, and building an interoperable format so that when I do share something, the other side knows what to do with it. So it's really important to be able to have all of the data that we need to be able to share information between branches securely and in a format that everyone can understand so that it's useful for them once they get it. And that's, that's the way that we can help to really protect our nation, right? Our nations and our allies to be able to make this data useful for both sides.
Right, sure. And can you kind of delve more into data governance, kind of what that means? What role does it play in ensuring that security and the integrity of the data? What are the considerations there?
Yeah, so data governance, it is an extremely important topic. If your data is not secure and governed, you cannot share it safely. So it's really the catalyst that allows you to make this data sharing across, within the agency and with outside agencies. And so, it's really got a couple of components to it. One is actually finding the data that I need, right? So I need to be able to go into my universe of data and I need to be able to find it, right? So we already talked about having the hybrid cloud. And so how do you find your data in the hybrid cloud if it's not just in one place? So being able to have it something like a data catalog that can help you understand where is my data, what data do I have available to me, and just be able to know, what does the data look like? What is the profile of it? Does it have sensitive data in it? And to be able to manage that security and governance across the hybrid model. So we don't have one security model in one platform and another security model in another platform. That's very difficult to manage and very difficult to do correctly and takes a lot of different types of skill sets. So we want to create a unified model of security and governance across the hybrid cloud so that we only have to create those policies once and the policies will travel with the data. And that's really the secret sauce for security and governance across the hybrid cloud. The other aspects of security and governance that are really important are the auditing. So we know who's accessing what data. And then also what's called the lineage. So how did I get this data? And then how do I, what happened to it once I got this data? And that is really important for tracking the, the trustedness of the data. If I don't know how I got it and I don't know where it came from or what happened before it got there or what happened to it after, I don't really have the trust within the data. So that is really, it's important to have a permissions model and a governance model that is easy to maintain, and having that simplified model of being able to have one governance and security consistent across the hybrid cloud is really important. And then being able to track things like sensitive data and being able to manage that easily, right? Instead of having to create a lot of different complex policies, right? So it's really about the simplicity of the governance, the consistency of the governance, and then making it easy to manage so that we can share the data safely. And that is really the heart of the matter, is being able to get the data, to be able to put together the pieces, to do it securely, and to be able to share it with other people so that we can get the most use out of it.
Right, and that kind of auditing of data, that I haven't heard too much about. Are you seeing that in the government and DoD and the IC as far as people making sure they know that lineage and the trustedness? I guess, what are you seeing out there? And I guess any other advice for agencies about that?
So it's extremely important, the lineage if you go to anything that's highly regulated, right? Regulated industries, or, when you're doing things like within the government, you need to be able to know, where did this data come from? And it's part of, if you're going to train an algorithm, right? If you're going to train an algorithm, you have to have explainability of that algorithm, and you have to understand, where did this data come from and what happened to it on the way in, because that's the only way that you can know that your algorithm is doing the right thing, right? So if you don't understand where the data came from or what happened to it on the way in, then your algorithm is not going to be good. You're not going to understand how it works, or if something goes wrong with it, you're not going to know how to fix it. So it's really important to have that lineage. And I think it's something, within regulated industries like financial services, lineage is everything. Everyone is really focused on the lineage. It's something that they have to do for compliance. But I really think for any industry, if you want to build these trusted algorithms, having that lineage is super important.
Right, sure. And I wanted to go back to kind of mention this universe of data. So for, the government, the IC, DoD, data could live in that hybrid. And it's amazing to me how that's developed over the last several years, of the choices that people have to put their data in public clouds, on premise, in a secure facility in a data center, and at the edge. I guess, what advice do you have there about data cataloging, so people know where all their data is, I guess?
So you have to have the data catalog that spans all of the different, areas of data that you have, right, across the hybrid cloud. Having a data catalog that only manages data in one location is not going to be as useful. You're going to have to go to different places to look for the data. So it's not as easy to use. It's not, we want to make the data experience of the consumer, of the person that's looking at the data. We want to make that the best and the most simple experience. So, that's really the secret sauce for the hybrid platform, is having that data plane that supports across multiple clouds. And there's definitely tricky situations when you get to like managing data within a secure facility. You can't really have that data plane across the secure facility, right? Because that would not be safe. But Cloudera does support any model, right? So if you want to have a data environment that is completely walled off and completely secure inside of a locked facility, that is something that we totally support. If you want to, implement a hybrid strategy where you have less, data that's not as protected in terms of, inside of a secured, like top secret or secret facility, then you can do that with more of a global data catalog. So the point here is that we're meeting the customer where they are with the security and governance model that they have.
Right, that flexibility sounds terrific. Those were all my questions. Anything else you wanted to highlight?
No, I just want to say that data is a strategic asset for our nation's cyber and intelligence community and defense in general. And I'm really pleased that we can help with this mission to help make our nation stronger and to help manage this data asset that we have. It's very, very important. And I'm really excited by this mission.
All right, well, terrific. Well, thank you so much, Carolyn, for walking through the importance of this data management and data governance. For more information about Cloudera, please visit their website at cloudera.com. That's CLOUDERA.com. And thank you for listening to this episode of our executive video with Cloudera. And thanks, Carolyn, so much.
Thanks, Kimberly. Very nice to speak with you today.
Yep, thank you. And thank you all for listening. Have a good day.